The green light is on and we are underway for the first practice session on the final weekend of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship in 2023. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, especially here if you're watching in the UK, and welcome along to what is going to be a very interesting session. Cars heading out the track: Turkington, Morgan, Jelly, Hill, Camish, Sutton, Rowbottom, Osborne, Ingram, Chilton, Pearson, Holstead, all heading out. Let's cross over to our trackside commentary.
For the first of 2 days of racing for this final round of the 2023 Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. The cars and the drivers now headed out onto the track for the first of 2 free practice sessions this morning. You also get to see them qualifying later on today. And we've got an absolutely fabulous programme lined up for you in terms of qualifying and racing and practice today. Tomorrow given across to racing all the way through the day and championships to be decided. We've got rounds 28, 29 and 30 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship coming up. And we've also laid on some very unseasonal weather for you. Welcome to August, everybody. Summer has finally arrived, maybe just for one weekend only, but the weather looks brilliant this weekend. It's a little bit gusty, a bit windy out there, but make no mistake about it, it's going to be a warm weekend. So everybody look after yourselves in terms of getting some suntan cream on this weekend, because you might well need it. It's going to be a dry weekend, and it's not very often we can say that this year, and it's certainly not very often we get to say that in this final weekend of the season. So the cars headed out for the first 35-minute free practice session. The timetable for the morning looks a little bit like this, and if you haven't yet got one, can I urge you to go and get a race programme for the weekend. It's a brilliant guide to what's going to be a terrific weekend of racing. It costs £8. It's a full colour booklet, really, rather than a programme. It's 64 pages long. It gives you your timetable, the event map and venue map. It has got all the entry lists, all of the details of all the championships in there, lots of articles about the British Touring Car Championship and the drivers in there as well. And of course, spaces for you to get autographs if you're lucky enough to bump into some of the stars that are racing this weekend. If you haven't yet got a race programme, you can get one from various programme sellers around the paddock, but also a good port of call is the Mega Store, the big shop at the back of the grandstands overlooking the first corner at Paddock Hill Bend. So that's where you'll find the timetable for the day and for the weekend. In fact, we get underway then with this Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship free practice session. And then after this, at 10:25, we've got the Porsche Sprint Challenge Great Britain. They go qualifying for 30 minutes. At 11:05, it's qualifying for the Virtue Motors Mini Challenge. Again, that's a 30-minute session. 11:45, we've got the Rocket F4 British Championship. The championship decider this weekend for them looks fascinating. There's only 1 point between the top 2 in the championship, so it's essentially a one-weekend championship for Formula 4. Their hugely important qualifying session comes up at 11:45. That's a 20-minute session. And then to round out the morning, we've got another free practice session for the touring cars at 12:15. A lunch break then for an hour, and at 1:50 we get our first race of the weekend underway. 10:02, it's the Porsche Sprint Challenge Great Britain, their first of 3 20-minute races coming up at 10:02. At 2:25, it's the first race of the weekend for the Minis, and then at 3 o'clock we go qualifying for half an hour for the Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain. And then here's a time to note: 3:40, 20 to 4 this afternoon. 30 minutes of qualifying for the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. And an important championship point up for grabs for pole in that one as well. And then the final action of today is going to be at 4:30 with the first of 3 races this weekend for the Rocket F4 British Championship. You can listen into the commentary course on the tannoys, but also you can listen in on the local FM radio frequency, which has changed this year. It's 88.3 FM, so 88.3 FM if you want to listen in. Welcome then to all of you here at the circuit. Great to see so many of you here early doors at the very start of the weekend. I know lots of you camping over. The campsite looks pretty full. That's a decision I think you're probably glad you made now with the weather that we've got. And welcome to those of you listening in online as well. You can listen in online via the BTCC.net website. All the commentary is there this weekend. And lots of interviews with drivers posted up on the live section of the BTCC .net website as well. So just go to the homepage of the website, click on the live section and click on the live audio section to get the commentary via that as well. So welcome to all of you as we go practicing then for the first time this weekend. And as ever for the touring cars, it's their first time on track because unlike the support series, they didn't get to go testing yesterday. All the other categories have had 2 test sessions, one yesterday morning and one yesterday afternoon. But for touring cars, it's their first foray onto the track. They'll spend much of this first session darting in and out of the pitch, just running in tyres, bedding in tyres, checking out their systems, and then we'll expect more running in the second half of the session and a lot more running for the drivers when they go out for the second practice session this afternoon. So welcome everybody, my name's Chris Hartley. I'm up here in the commentary box with a great view of the Indy part of the circuit, but of course we're using the full Grand Prix circuit this weekend. And having chatted with quite a few drivers yesterday afternoon, almost everyone I spoke to said, yeah, one of their favourites, if not their favourite circuit. They love the far section of the circuit out the back, the high-speed sections at Hawthorns and Westfield and Dingledale. Real commitment required through there. And then we'll also get some TV pictures this weekend because ITV are streaming all of the races this weekend. So we'll get those pictures today and tomorrow up in the commentary box. See, as I say, all of the Indy circuit, they disappear off into the Grand Prix circuit. So we lose them there for qualifying, but we talk you through all of the action when we get the races from that part of the circuit. And down in the pit lane, as ever, we're going to have Alan Hyde, who's going to be catching up with all of the drivers. He'll be overseeing all the podiums this weekend on the BTCC podium truck. On the grid for the races, and of course he'll be catching up with all of our champions, the champions presentation at the end of the weekend, which is always a spectacular way to round out the weekend. So I think Alan is down there in the pit lane. And good morning, Alan, how you doing?
Morning, Chris. Good morning, everybody. And what's the difference between this championship finals weekend and just about every other one that I can remember?
Sunshine.
I've still got nerves in my tummy, so that's exactly the same. We've still got drivers that smile as they walk through the paddock, but inside they're terribly nervy as well. The thing that's different is it doesn't feel like winter.
No.
And it's going to feel gorgeous like this all weekend. The weather forecast has been very, very optimistic since just about Monday, that we've got a lovely day to look forward to today, a lovely day to look forward to tomorrow. Championships decided, literally, what is there not to like?
Absolutely right. No, there's going to be a lot going on this weekend as we look at races, but also look at point scenarios in the various championships and in touring cars, not just for the outright championship, but also in terms of looking at the teams championships, the manufacturers, the independents championship, which has been sealed, but there are other positions in the top 3 to be decided. And of course, the Jack Sears Trophy is wide open as well for drivers who had not previously, prior to the start of the season, finished on the podium. So there's lots to keep you up to date with across the course of the weekend. So championship-wise, just to remind you, we've got 2 remaining potential champions this year. One is looking for his 4th championship title to equal the record held jointly at the moment by Colin Turkington and Andy Rouse. If he gets it, Ash Sutton will become a 4-time champion, and he'll be the youngest ever 4-time champion by some distance. He is the points leader, and he comes here with a 45-point lead in the championship, but there are 67 points still up for grabs. He's got one hand on the trophy, but it is not yet done. Tom Ingram, the defending champion, is the one driver that can stop him getting that 4th title. And they're on 398 and 353 points, respectively. You get 20 points for each race win, so there are 60 points available there. But there are 2 bonus points available in each of the races. One if you lead a lap, one if you get the fastest lap of the race. So that makes up to 66 points, and there's a point today for pole position as well. There are various scenarios, but the 2 key ones to remember are, 1, Tom Ingram has got to beat Ash Sutton in race 1 tomorrow. He's got to close that gap, because if he doesn't close the gap, then Ash Sutton will have too big an advantage going into race 2. So after race 1, there are only 44 points available, and he's 45 clear at the moment. So Tom Ingram has got to close that gap. Even if he gets pole position today, and even if he wins the race tomorrow, and even if he gets that gap to 44 points, which is what's available, Ash has got far more race wins. He's got 10 race wins. Tom has got 2. So if they were to tie on points, it goes Ash's way. So he's got to close the gap. The other kind of stat to remember, or to just have in the back of your head, is that the equivalent points that he needs to get the job done, whatever Tom Ingram does, would be 3 ninth place finishes for Ash Sutton. So if he does that or something similar, that equivalent points, whatever Tom does, he's going to do it. So that sounds straightforward, but qualifying is going to be big. He needs to be somewhere near the front, Ash Sutton. And of course, race 1 is going to be big, because if that goes wrong, suddenly you're on the back foot, aren't you, with having to start at the back of the grid for race 2. Although both of them did that at Silverstone on a damp track, and both drove fantastically. Ash Sutton coming all the way through from 23rd on the grid to get a race victory. And Tom Ingram, after getting tangled up at the start of the race, pretty much dropping to the very back of the field, coming through to get a podium as well. So what fireworks we'll see. There's going to be a few twists in the tail, that's for sure. We'll wait and see how it all pans out. Josh Cook has already wrapped up the Independence Championship. He can't be caught. But Aaron Taylor-Smith, Andrew Watson, Dan Lloyd, Aidan Moffat, Mikey Doble are all fighting for second still in the Independence Championship. The Jack Sears trophy is, as I say, for the drivers that have not been on the podium before, that is close as well. Andrew Watson and Mikey Doble, both rookies this season, both teammates at Carstal Powermaxed Vauxhall as well. There's only 18 points between those 2 drivers. Sam Osborne's 32 adrift. Dexter Patterson, Ronan Pearson still have an outside shot as well. The Teams Championship has been wrapped up by Napa Racing UK, but BMW and Accelerate are fighting over second. That's pretty close. There's only, 9 points between those 2. The Independent Teams Championship, that's close. One Motorsport lead Powermax, but only by 27 points. And the Manufacturers Championship is pretty close as well. BMW only 28 points clear of Ford, with 2 drivers scoring points in each of the races. So potential points available there as well, up to 37 per race. So that is all to keep an eye on this weekend. We've got one additional driver coming in this weekend as well. So there's no Jack Butel this weekend. In his place returns James Gornall. Great to see James back, the former BMW Compact Cup and Mini Challenge champion, who's raced in the BTCC before and has in the past had a very good weekend here at Brands Hatch, in fact, where he scored points in all 3 races. So it's good to have him back. He's going to be in one of the Team Hard Cupras. So James Gornall, the former British GT champion in car 180, the GoFix Auto Aid Breakdown car. He's back with us this weekend. So 27 cars out there. Time-wise so far, Jake Hill has set 1 minute 31.059. He can't now win the championship, despite the fact he's had 5 race wins this year. So he's quickest. Colin Turkington and Stephen Jelly and Adam Morgan, all running under WSR, West Surrey Racing, are all setting early lap times as well. So 131.0 for Jake Hill, 131.4 for Colin Turkington, 132.4 for Stephen Jelly, and a 132.4, just 2 thousandths slower than Stephen, for Adam Morgan, 4th quickest. Ronan Pearson, Dan Camish and Michael Crease, the only other drivers so far this weekend, in this session, to have set a lap time. So that's the way it stands at the moment. The track is getting a bit busier now. Got 1 or 2 making their way down the pit lane apron, 1 or 2 being pushed out of their garages and about to hit the circuit. So I think it's going to start to get a little bit busier now that we've got the first 10, 12 minutes of the session out of the way. And Adam Morgan has just improved his time to get into the 131s as well. 1 minute 31.801 for him. So using the full Grand Prix circuit here this weekend, which provides a real stiff challenge for the drivers at the back of the circuit as they turn off the Indy circuit, essentially. At the back of the paddock through the Cooper Straight, so uphill climb through the left-hander at Surtees, and rather than turning right there through McLaren, they turn left and carry on a pretty steep climb. You've got to get the exit to that corner absolutely spot on, because it's a steep rise. And then you go through Pilgrim's Drop, rises, then dips, then rises against a really quick section out the back from 6th gear to 5th gear. Then you attack Hawthorne's really quick, almost 90-degree right-hander. You want to have your brakes working there, that's for sure. You can approach that at real high speed. And there's a short link straight at the furthest point of the circuit from Hawthorne down to Westfield. You go from 5th gear down to 4th, and that's where the circuit really begins to undulate then, because there's a steep drop out of Westfield, another right-hander, downhill steeply coming out of there, so the back end of the car goes light. You've got to really hang on to it through Dingledale, and then you rise up again steeply through the right-hander at Sheen Curve. Then there's almost a 90-degree left-hander through Stirling's. They come back down the straight, and then they whiz back into our view from Stirling's down back into Clearways and back onto the Indy circuit. There are plenty of opportunities for you to get out to the various parts of the Grand Prix circuit as spectators as well, following the pathways. And if you've got time and the will to do so, I'd highly recommend it, because it's not very often we get to use the full Grand Prix circuit, and it is very spectacular at the back. You get pretty close to the circuit as well. So one point or another, it's well worth getting out there for one or two of the sessions and having a look out on the Grand Prix circuit if you can. So Dan Camish, who has bad luck this season, seems to have been a pretty consistent factor. He has just gone up to 4th quickest. He's the best of the Napa Racing UK Ford Focuses with a 1 minute 31.554. That gets him within half a second of the BMWs of Hill, Turkington and Jelly. Down with 2 tyre issues in 2 of the races last time out at Silverstone. 2 tyre delaminations costing him a huge amount of points. So the former multiple Porsche Carrera Cup GB champion, going to try and help his team out, I'm sure, this weekend. Ash Sutton. Certainly Dan Rowbottom has been playing his part of late. He had to back off in the first part of qualifying at Silverstone, despite being on 2 green sectors, despite looking like he might just get into the top 10 showdown in qualifying. He backed off out of it to make sure that his teammate Ash Sutton could get in there, which he just about did, just about scraped into the top 10, and also had to sacrifice a place in one of the races at Silverstone. We've got Rory Butcher up into the top 3 now as well. Toyota Corolla has set a 131.342, so the Scot in the number 6 car goes 3rd quickest and is just under 0.4 of a second behind Ash Sutton, who is now top of the times with a 130.962. Jake Hill 2nd with a 131.059. Rory Butcher 3rd with a 131.3. 131.4s for Colin Turkington and Stephen Jelly still, but they're now down to 4th and 5th. And then Dan Camish rounding out the top 6 with a 131.5. Adam Morgan 131.8 is 7th. Aaron Taylor-Smith, who's been going great guns in the second half of the season. Another visit to the podium at Silverstone. 132.1 for him. He's gone 8th quickest in the best of the Vauxhalls so far. Michael Crease has gone 9th quickest in the 777 Cupra. And then with 10th place, Andrew Watson, a 132.7. And we've got a track limits warning, and there'll be a few of those this weekend, no doubt. The first one goes to Adam Morgan in the Team BMW car. So Adam Morgan with a track limits warning, which is something they've really got to pay attention to when they get to qualifying. And if you exceed track limits on your fast lap, it gets taken away from you. And penalties, of course, can be applied if you keep breaking the rules, keep breaking the track limits rules during the course of a race. So it's something that's been a big issue for a number of years, perhaps even bigger this year with a slight tweak to the rules and the regulations on that. So the circuit is 2.43 miles long. The qualifying lap record, just to give you an insight into what sort of lap times we should be hoping for. Tom Ingram last year in qualifying got the lap record here, which was 129.5. So we're still, 1.3 seconds away from that here in practice. The race lap record was broken last year as well. That was Josh Cook, and that was a 130.5, which is about 0.3 quicker than we're going at the moment in this session. Mikey Doble heads over the line. Fantastic Saturday he had at Silverstone. The first driver this year to break the domination in qualifying of Napa Racing UK, because the team, the Fords, had every single pole position so far this year until Silverstone.
You know, Chris, he didn't know that stat when he got back after qualifying.
No.
He didn't realise he was the first non-Napa car, so it came as a bit of a revelation when I mentioned it in the interview. His little face lit up even more. It was lovely moment it was.
Yeah, it was exceptional, wasn't it? But there's never been a more poignant case of showing the highs and lows of motorsport as that weekend, has it? Because he has all that delirium in his rookie season, getting his first pole position in the British Touring Car Championship. And then come Sunday morning, there's a confusion on the team radio. They think they've got to do 2 formation laps because it's starting to drizzle. Some cars are on slick, some cars are on wet tyres. And as the pole sitter, he goes across the line at the end of the first formation lap and then realises pretty quickly afterwards he's the only one doing a second formation lap. There was only one, so he had to quickly catch up, and he started the race from the back of the grid. Heartbreaking, really, after that fine effort in qualifying on Saturday. That said, he had a great drive through to 11th place from the back of the field. But yeah, the highs and lows of motorsport takes you up, and then it can kick you straight back down. But when the highs come, they are well worth it, because all these drivers have been around long enough to know that there are far more disappointments in motorsport, far more things that can go wrong than can go right. So you've really got to appreciate those moments where it does all come together. But for the team, for Adam Weaver's team, to get that pole position, and it was their first pole position for 4 years as a team in the Vauxhall, that was a fantastic effort, and they have been really impressive so far this season. They started the year pretty well, and they've got better and better as the season has gone on. And they've got those two drivers, Mikey Doble and Andrew Watson, fighting for the Jack Sears trophy as well. So be extremely pleased with that. Of course, Aaron Taylor-Smith has also been picking up podiums of late. Second place finish in the reverse grid race at Donington, a second place finish, almost a win in race 2 at Silverstone. Only overtaken on the very last lap of the race by a charging Ash Sutton from the back of the field. We've got a red flag, though, because I see some dust kicked up coming out of Paddock Hill through Hawthorne, but nobody stuck in the gravel there. And
someone said to me first thing this morning, really pleased about the weather for this meeting, because we won't have as many red flags, because the Grand Prix circuit won't be quite as green and greasy.
Right, I found the culprit. It's Adam Morgan. He's stopped on the circuit, actually. So that's just behind the race control building on the Cooper Straight. So he's come out of Graham Hill Bend, and the car is stopped on the left-hand side, but on the circuit. So Adam's out of the car and walking back to it now, but that looks like a technical issue. It's not the sort of place you would go off and stop. He's parked it dead straight. So Adam making his way back to the car now, and the session stopped because the car in a precarious position. The session stopped in terms of nobody's running, but the clock continues to carry the countdown. Not like qualifying where the clock stops. In free practice, it carries on. So this is all time lost now for the drivers and teams who all, apart from Adam Morgan, make their way back into the pits.
Yeah, for some it can be quite useful, because they can do a tweak, maybe a little bit longer, that they have to stay in the pit lane rather than have the option of getting back out on track, including Rory Butcher. Now, he's having quite a bit of work done to the under the bonnet on the right-hand front side of the car. I'm just trying to look and see what they're doing. They are reattaching a component. I think they now need a new component from the truck, so someone has run off. So Rory Butcher's car maybe not been totally without its problems.
No, he so put a couple of quick laps in, including the third best lap of the session so far, 1:31.199. But yeah, taking a look at that. So everybody else makes their way back in, and the recovery vehicle already has made its way to the BMW of Adam Morgan on the Cooper Straight, and it's pretty close to an escape route out of the circuit as well, back to the paddock. So it won't be very long before the car is towed away. Assuming it's not locked in gear or anything like that. It's already been hooked up. It looks like it's rolling free at the moment. So recovery drivers now both back in, and sure enough, it is rolling freely. So going to tow that one back down the Cooper Straight and back to the paddock. That probably, or possibly, will be the end of the session for Adam Morgan. You never know with these British touring car teams. They can work miracles, but with only less than 12 minutes left on the clock, they've got to assess the problem, and getting back out seems a bit unlikely. So that is going to be a pretty short stoppage, I would say. We'll get everybody back out in the next minute or so onto the track, I reckon.
Can you hear that?
I can hear.
It
doesn't sound good, whatever it is.
It doesn't sound good. It sounds terribly mechanical somehow. So that was Adam's car being pulled back on the back of the pickup truck down the Cooper Straight, just coming past me. So
like something dragging or rattling.
It did. It sounded like something mechanical dragging. So I'll get to his garage and maybe interrogate him what the problem is when he gets back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a good.
Interrogate. That's not very friendly, is it?
Going to pin him down. Stand on his throat.
Tell me what was wrong.
Adam, what was wrong? Morning, Adam. Don't upset him. He's a very nice man.
No, I know. He's a nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
So brutal this morning.
I know, crikey. it's the wind. It's fired you up.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, the sun's got to me.
Right, so Adams and his stricken car on the way back. He's braced himself now for his interrogation that's coming from in the pit lane when he gets back.
Tell me the truth.
Yeah, keep your helmet on, Adam, if I was you, and run. Session is going to restart at 9:55, which is in 20 seconds' time. So we're about to get the signal that drivers will all be, or almost all of them, be rolled back out in unison. This is always a great sight when they are three-quarter angle, nose into their garages, and then you've got the mechanics around the cars, one at the back of the car, ready to pull them back out into position. They all do it in complete sync, and here they go, released into the pit lane apron. It doesn't look like Jake Hill's quite ready to go. They're just closing the doors on that car now. The bonnet is up on Dan Camish's car. Tom Chilton is still stationary, and Rory Butcher and Aaron Taylor-Smith I can see as well. Otherwise, there's one of their Cupras at the back, which is Michael Crease. Otherwise, and of course minus Adam Morgan, everybody else is about to head back out onto the circuit, led by Stephen Jelly. So Stephen makes his way out. Ash Sutton, Tom Ingram, the two that can win the championship still. Jake Hill, third place, is 37 points clear of Colin Turkington in fourth. So it looks as though Jake is going to get his second third place finish in the championship running, but with more wins this season than he's ever had. He's had a great season, really. I mean, other championships have been won with far fewer than 5 race wins, that's for sure, and far fewer points than he's scored this year. So it's been a fine effort, but just missing out on the chance by point, actually, to stay in the championship fight coming here this weekend. He's 68 behind Ash Sutton, only 67 points still available. Josh Cook is 5th in the championship. And then you got Dan Camish in 6th place, Dan Rowbottom in 7th. He had a really good weekend at Silverstone, 2nd, a 4th, and a 10th. He's had so far this year 5 podiums, and that one race win in the reverse grid race at Thruxton, Dan Rowbottom. So he's on course for his best season of the championship. He's 7th. Ricky Collard is 8th, Adam Morgan is 9th, and Rory Butcher rounds out the top 10 of the championship.
I just bumped into a very happy, smiley Rob Huff down in the paddock, who had an outing in one of the Team Hard Cupras at Knockhill this year. Of course, a former World Touring Car champion and former driver in the BTCC as well with Sayat, and it's nice to see Rob down here. I wonder if that means he's sort of chatting in a friendly way to teams about the possibility of maybe doing that a little bit more in the BTCC. That would be really good news.
Well, he certainly expressed that in the motoring press, hasn't he? That he'd be keen to come and race in the championship in 2024.
To have him.
We would, absolutely would. So yeah, great to have Rob here. Yeah, he came and raced at Knockhill for the weekend, and had a busy few weeks because he'd been in South America. He came to Knockhill and he had to go back to South America to do 2 back-to-back race weekends in the World Touring Cars.
He hadn't been to Knockhill for many years, and just got into the car. He hadn't been in the car before, and he hadn't been to the circuit for umpteen years, and still put on a jolly good show that weekend. He's a class act, is Rob. Somebody that had never been to Knockhill before was you, Chris, and I mean, just for the sake of admin, if you're up for the journey next year again, you're more than welcome.
I'll be absolutely up for it.
I thought you might.
Fantastic weekend. Yeah, I loved it. The circuit is brilliant. I mean, I've obviously seen it before on TV and so forth, but never been there. Never had the chance to go there all these years doing this job, and I loved it. Loved the circuit. First thing I went and did on the Friday was go to the first corner and watch the Formula 4 cars throw themselves down the hill. Yeah, go airborne. That was fantastic, and great view of the circuit. Hugely warm, welcoming at the circuit as well. Such a friendly circuit. Made to feel very, very welcome. Had a great time.
Yep, well, there's a slot for next year with your name on it.
Marvellous. Yeah, we had a week up there as well and had a great time. We just had a wide moment from Ricky Collard, who put a couple of wheels through the gravel coming out of Clearways in the Toyota Corolla. But the number 37 machine, okay. Apart from a couple of dirty tyres, makes his way up Hawthorns now and up towards the hairpin at Druids. So pretty full circuit, and only Adam Morgan missing, and Michael Crease still in the pits actually as well. But otherwise, everybody out there. James Gaunler's just improved. Well, put his first proper lap in with a 1:37.5. Tom Ingram has had out laps. He's been in and out on the track. He's not actually set a lap time as yet. And Jade Edwards likewise in the Honda. So number 1, Tom Ingram. Number 99, Jade Edwards yet to set a time in the session, but that's, I think, about to change. 5 minutes, 24 seconds left on the clock. And we've got Jake Hill back to the top of the times with the 1:30.730. Ash Sutton second, 1:30.884. Rory Butcher third, 1:31.199, but nearly half a second back on Jake Hill's best time. Colin Turkington, 1:31.268 is fourth. Dan Camish with the 1:31.333 is in fifth place. And then George Gamble in sixth, 1:31.475. Stephen Jelly seventh, 1:31.496. Eighth is Tom Chilton with a 1:31.564. A 1:31.661 for Aaron Taylor-Smith in ninth. And Bobby Thompson has just come up into 10th place with the 1:31.696 second lap. Bobby Thompson on his home circuit, of course. He had to miss the middle part of the season due to financial issues, but it's great to have him back. He's not in the car that he drove at the start of the season. He returned at Silverstone. He's actually racing the car that was driven by Nick Hamilton, so it's an older spec car rather than one of the brand new Cupras. But he was really pleased with the job the team had done on converting the car and how close it was, very similar in pace to his new car. They said they just got the setup a little bit wrong at Silverstone, but overall he was happy, and he's gone third quickest now, Bobby Thompson. So Bobby, third quickest, 1:30.990.
There's an absolutely super article in Autosport about Bobby Thompson, written by Marcus Simmons, who is just the most brilliant journalist, and it's a really good article. Bobby's really pleased, and someone who shall remain nameless in driver briefing this morning, I just mentioned to Bob, I said, really good article by Marcus, and then somebody else piped up, how much do you have to pay for that? Well, the answer is nothing, and it was just literally that Marcus did the research, and the result of that was a really good article about Bob.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder if I could... Adam, can I just stop you for a moment? I'm so sorry. What was up with the car? It sounded really odd as it was being pulled back.
We're not 100% sure. We think it might be a prop shaft or a prop shaft joint. So we're just to get it back and see what it is.
Yeah, well, let's hope it can be quickly fixed, Adam. Thank you. Thanks for explaining that.
Thank you. Yeah, so prop shaft or prop shaft joint. So yeah, to be able to get that done. Now Tom Ingram hadn't set a lap time. He has now, second quickest, 1:30.872, absolute best in the first sector. So Hill quickest, Ingram second, Sutton third as it stands. 1.5 tenths between all three drivers in this first free practice session. Bobby Thompson in fourth place. And then Rory Butcher in fifth, Dan Camish in sixth in the closing minutes of the session. Yeah, absolutely recommend you read that article in Autosport or on autosport.com about Bobby Thompson. The essence of the article is that he's a star driver, but hasn't had the opportunities yet, because like many drivers in all forms of motorsport, because you have to have the funding to be able to do it. It's not like a lot of other sports where if you've got the talent, you can generally find your way to the top. You also have to have the backing and the financial support. So a lot of the article is about Bobby's struggles and how Tony Gilliam and Team Hard have helped him out, but how he also had to miss part of the season. But also some of the stats of how quick he is and how highly rated he has become by Matt Neal as well. Three-time champion who is working this season with Team Hard and has really been working closely with Bobby, as has Barry Plowman from Team Dynamics, who's actually engineering Bobby Thompson, and they've been really, really impressed with him this season. So it's a really interesting article. Tom Ingram, top of the times, 1:30.712. It's only free practice one, but it's a nice way to start the weekend.
Yeah, but every one of these little moments of the weekend is a little psychological battle.
Exactly right. Yeah, he's got to go for it. That's for sure. He's got to go on attack mode. He knows he needs to close that gap by the end of race one tomorrow to stay in the championship fight. All he can do is get out there, try and get pole, try and win the race as well. He's going to have, of course, slightly more hybrid available to him in qualifying and the race, or races, or at least race one, than his championship rival. So Tom Ingram quickest, 130.712 seconds, only by 18 thousandths of a second though. Jake Hill, 130.730, is second quickest. Then Ash Sutton with a 130.884. He had a slow lap last time around, so maybe he's just lining up for another run at this towards the end of the session. It'll have to be soon, though, because there's only 44 seconds left on the clock. We've had an improvement from Ricky Collard as well, 1 minute 30.915. He's gone up to fourth, so Bobby Thompson down to fifth place now, albeit just, it's super tight there. You got Ash Sutton 31 thousandths quicker than Ricky Collard. Collard quicker than Thompson by 75 thousandths of a second as well. Then Rory Butcher in sixth, Dan Camish, Stephen Jelly, Colin Turkington, George Gamble rounding out the top 10. The only one that's not yet put a lap time in, a full lap time, is Jade Edwards. So Jade still hasn't come through to complete a lap. Well, I think that's about to change with 2 green sectors. Track limits warning for Ricky Collard. That's a familiar tale, a sentence he won't want to hear too much this weekend, given that he actually won a race here at Brands Hatch on the track last time we were here earlier in the season. A great battle, a fantastic battle with Ash Sutton, but a penalty for track limits here at Brands Hatch, which cost him not just the win, but cost him a podium at the end of the day. Dropped down to, was it 9th place at the end. So Ricky will be keen to put that right this weekend, and they could be some dark horses. We often focus on the championship contenders on a race weekend like this, a season finale, but often, Alan, it's other drivers that steal the show, steal the headlines.
It absolutely is. One of the scenarios that I've been working through in my brain is somebody that's missed out on this championship finale, that I have this feeling that it's very rare that a driver wins all 3 races. But Jake Hill, as you said earlier on, has won multiple races this year, 5 wins. He's not in the title because of some of the other results not adding up as far as points are concerned. But I wonder if Jake, he's come so close to winning all 3 this year, hasn't he? I just wonder at his local circuit whether that's one of the scenarios that's going to play out over the course of this weekend.
Yeah, it's must be a bit tough to take when you look at the stats. You go, oh, I won 5 races and I'm going to be probably 3rd in the championship. And then 2018, 5 years ago, Colin Turkington won 1 race and was the champion. But it's consistency as well. It's about all the podiums and being in the points when and where you can. When there's 30 races, when it's as tight as it is, it's not just about the wins. But he's had a superb season. Take nothing away from Jake Hill. He's had a mega year, and he's been the best of the BMWs in a team which is full of talent, not least of which, of course, is the 4-time champion Colin Turkington. So Jake Hill, great effort. He's going to end this session second quickest behind Tom Ingram, and he's the one sandwiched in between the championship contenders. Ingram fastest, Hill second, Sutton third.
You were talking about Ricky Collard. I haven't seen him. I've only seen him with his helmet on and while he's in the car. He always has something sort of planned for the finale at Brands Hatch. I don't know why this is. Last year he decided to dump on us that he was going to go and live in Australia, and he was done with the racing in the BTCC. Well, that didn't happen, but apparently a new look for Ricky has happened.
Oh, right.
So,
what's
yeah,
this?
no, I don't know.
Hair?
Apparently so, yeah.
I thought it might be.
I shall report on it only as and when I see it.
Okay. Yes, he's had a few different styles this year, hasn't he? All the last couple of years, actually, Ricky. So, yeah, something special for the weekends he's had. Apparently, we'll see.
Allegedly.
It won't be boring haircut, will it, put it that way. Tom Ingram quickest then, 1 minute 30.712 seconds. Jake Hill second, 1 minute 30.730, 18 thousandths of a second between them. Third, Ash Sutton with a 130.884, 0.17 seconds adrift. And then next 4 were all really close on times. 130.9s for Ricky Collard in fourth, Stephen Jelly in fifth, and Bobby Thompson in 6th place. So Stephen Jelly was the one improvement late on to go up to 5th place. Also improvements from Colin Turkington on the last lap. He went 7th. Rory Butcher, he put his best lap of the session in at the end to go 8th. Dan Camish then fell to 9th. George Gamble 10th. Josh Cook 11th. Tom Chilton 12th. Aaron Taylor-Smith 13th. Dan Rowbottom 14th. Aidan Moffat 15th. Adam Morgan, who, as we know, missed the final 15 minutes of the session with that car issue, stopped out on track, so he ended up down in 16th place, but it was going well up until that point. Mikey Doble 17th, Dan Lloyd 18th, Ronan Pearson 19th, Sam Osborne 20th, Andrew Watson was 21st, Dexter Patterson 22nd, Darryl De Leon 23rd, Michael Crease 24th in that session, and then we had Nick Halstead 25th, Jade Edwards put a lap in at the end, 26th place, James Gornall 27th, having only confirmed the deal to be racing this weekend on Monday of this week, so fairly late deal for James Gornall to be coming back in for this one weekend, and of course that's the first time he's been in that car. No other opportunities to do so before free practice one, so it's all going to be a bit of a steep learning curve for him, but very accomplished driver. I'm sure he'll be getting some good results out of this. He's looking, he said, to get a points finish out of it this weekend if he can, so that's his objective.
Okay, I can confirm that Ricky Collard does have a new look for this weekend.
Oh, yes.
Right, has the look got a name, Rick?
Yeah, Dusty Dome.
Right, okay, it's back.
Dusty Dome is back. And, you know, we were potentially talking about having a couple of... I've got to be careful how I say this.
Yeah, you must, yeah. Oh, right, okay.
Is that,
I don't know. I've no idea.
just a broom.
Oh, right, okay, across.
A broom that the females might like.
Right, okay, I understand, Ricky. Thanks so much for this. Brands Hatch, okay, it was the Indy circuit at the start of the year. Oh, we talk racing now.
I forgot about that.
And of course, a memory from the start of the year. Is the Grand Prix circuit equally attractive to you?
Yeah, I love it. I just drove like such a plonker in that one then. I literally cut on the radio, I was like, oh, I just drove.
Why?
Oh, I don't know, just maybe a bit of dust come out the hair and I don't know. the new hairstyle, I don't know, but I just drove rubbish. I dropped a wheel out the last corner when I was like a second up, which would have comfortably put us quickest, but you know, P4 and there's a bit more in the tank shows that it's good.
I was just watching you chatting along to Paul Ridgway, and it was interesting because my mind went back. You realise that when your dad first drove in the BTCC, Paul was his engineer back then in a little Renault Clio.
It's great. It's so nice to have Paul on board. Just because, like I say, he used to engineer my dad, but also knew me ever since I was a
I know. Yeah, since you were a kid.
So it's great. We've got such a good relationship, and you know, now we've got that relationship back. No matter what happens for next year, I just want to make sure I keep Paul and stay with him. So.
Oh, that's a much better attitude than this place last year.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I might retire. No,
no, don't start all that again.
No, exactly. I'm really enjoying it, and yeah, I just want to be a bit more competitive out there, and I don't come here to come.
You've had a competitive season, in fairness.
We've been okay. Like we haven't had a. Well, it's weird. I always get podiums and wins taken off me.
I know.
I actually got one given to me at Knock Hill.
You didn't appear on.
No, so I didn't even get to spray the champagne. But no, I think it would be great if we could try and get a podium this weekend.
Yeah.
A win, mate. A win would be so funny because it would just be like such a.
The bookends of the year.
Yeah, exactly. And how we had one taken away. If we could actually come back here and win, that would be. It would be so special and it'd be fun.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Nice to have a chat to you. There we go.
Thank you then to the team down trackside at the Toka Radio. Free practice one completed then. Ingram top 130.712. We'll be back for practice two later on today at 12 o'clock. Bye for now.